One, two, three.
Hey, 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 it's Kimberly Smith Austin here, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Made to Inspire podcast. I am here today with my awesome and amazing female woman co-host, Misty Kerrigan. Hey, Misty.
Kimberly. I don't know if a lot of you know this, but me and Kimberly are both female. And we are excited because I just learned last week that March is Women's History Month. Kimberly, did you know that?
Well, I learned it a few years ago. I learned about this a few years ago. And you and I were talking just before the show that even though I learned of it a few years ago, you just learned of it. Here's the truth. Women have been making history for centuries, for decades, for years. And I'm super excited because today's show, not only today's show, but this month, we're going to focus on that female, that woman leader, entrepreneur, business executive, wherever you are. This month is dedicated and celebrated. We're celebrating you. So super excited.
Hey, though, if you're a guy, we got some amazing things too. So you don't have to log off, be like, oh, it's Women's Month. See you in April. Because we got some great stuff. We're still us. We're still mindset. We're still business. We're still heart. We're still health. So stay through the month. I think you will not be disappointed.
Absolutely not. And we know that a lot of the males, because our population is 83% female, and we have a 17% male following. And what we do know is that maybe some of you have women in your life, whether it's your daughter, your mother, your sister, your wife, your colleagues, your coworkers, whomever they may be. The information we're going to share this month is going to help you become an extraordinary male person in their lives. So keep that in mind as we go on this venture this month. So Misty, without further ado, let's kick off this show. What shall we talk about today?
Well, when we were talking about the show, we had learned a fun fact. And everyone knows it's true. It's one of those things that we know it's true, but unfortunately it's so true. We just go, oh yeah, that's true. But isn't it getting better? Well, we know, and we've known for years, that women make less money than men, even in equivalent roles. In fact, some of the fun facts we found were women earn 84% less than men in some of the same roles, which kind of equals out to 82 cents for every dollar. And that's just in business. We're not even talking entrepreneurship, because what we learned was women who own their own business and set their own prices are even further gapped. And what we were looking at was, if we're setting our own prices, why is the gap further and not closer? Mindset, right? So there's so much intricate details that are woven into this. But me and Kimberly, we're not like, well, let's grab a picket sign and get out there. But we do have some great strategies throughout this show and the next 4 shows on what we can do.
Absolutely. And you know, we live in a world where equality is important. And so when you think about the whole concept of Women's Day, Women's Month, it all goes back to equality, equity, inclusion, and giving women the opportunity. Now, since both Misty and I are women, you know, we are advocating for ourselves, but also for the women that are within our community. I think it's super, super important, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of what you believe. This world would not exist without a woman. Yes, we know it takes a male seed to make it happen, but the woman brings the birth, the life to existence. And so that's what we're going to talk about throughout the show. One of the things I wanted to share when we think about the theme for this year, 2022, the theme is gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. For a sustainable tomorrow. And I want you to think about this for a moment. Your daughters tomorrow, your nieces, your cousins, whomever they may be, what do you want that world to look like for them? Now, I'm going to say something that may be a little, little cocky, but here's the truth. I am smart. I am beautiful. I am intelligent, and I deserve what I deserve, right? We know that each person stands in their shape and their form. And I think it's so important to recognize, ladies, that you are all of that greatness and that you do deserve equality and equity, and to be able to stand at the boardroom, to be able to stand and get those contracts that your heart desire, be able to close those deals, and people see you as a person who happens to have female genitalia. Just saying. I'm sorry. Misty, talk before I go off.
So I think one of our biggest platforms is equality for clearly everybody, cultures, sex, you name it, but just everyone kind of being based off their character and not things that describe them other than their actions, how they treat people, right? Kindness. But when you're looking at it, unfortunately, you know who treats people the worst because of some of this disparity, because of some of the things they grew up with, and because of media, is themselves. They're harder on themselves, and they always try to strive for more to make themselves feel better. And unfortunately for women, more usually means outside of themselves. More means I'm going to do more for others. I'm going to do more for my kids. I'm going to do more for my family. I'm going to do more for my job. I'm going to do more for my community. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, that's a heart. We love hearts of service. But when you're doing so much more for everybody else and nothing is staying home with you and nothing is being putting back into yourself, into your well-being, into your health, you're going to burn out. You're going to not have enough to keep giving more. And then you're going to feel bad about it. And you create this evil cycle. And a lot of that cycle, if you're giving out some more and you're not taking to yourself, it leads to anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and sometimes trauma. That's pretty scary because we're so hard on ourselves. And one of the key flagship topics we always talk about is health. And I didn't know this, and Kimberly was sharing with me earlier, is that even our health, there's a gap in women, especially women of culture. Kimberly, you want to talk a little bit about that? That's scary.
Absolutely. There is a huge health disparity that exists in our world, especially when you are a woman of a different culture. The studies have shown it scientifically. American Medical Association, this weekend, I was at the Capitol, not physically, but I was at the nation's capital by way of a virtual Zoom. And one of the topics was health disparities that exist for women of color, particularly. And what we see is the treatment isn't the same, which in turn means the results aren't the same. Higher death rate, higher incident of a lot of chronic diseases that exist because the level of care just isn't there. And so not only are we speaking for women, we're speaking for women of color as well. When you look at that same number, you see that cancer, women die at epidemic numbers because of that look, I can't talk, because of that disease. I am a cancer survivor here 10 years, and recognizing that I had premier health care. And I think that was one of the, but I also advocated for my health. And that's what we want to encourage the women, not just about your health. You have to be your biggest advocate. No one's going to do it for you. And today we want to encourage people to come into your community, to come into the fold, to advocate for you, but it starts with you. You have to say that I matter, that I'm important enough, that I am going to fight for my rights, whether it's my income rights, my health rights, my voice matters. There's so many different things. And you guys, if you know me, you know I'm not a go out here and fight for the rights. Yes, I am, but I'm not on a platform. I'm not picking up the picket sign. I'm saying it in forms like this because I am passionate about it. And if you know me also, you know that I'm going to tell you what I will and what I won't do, period. That's it. So I think about that so common. And as Misty talked about earlier, when it comes to the financial side, that's huge. Huge, because women are on the totem pole, on the bottom of the totem pole, and we allow ourselves to be there. And so women, make a stance today that you're going to start seeing your leveling up where you are and where you see yourselves, because you are greatness.
Leveling up your health, getting those appointments early, getting those proactive appointments, making sure you're getting your checkups, making sure that when you're scheduling your kid's doctor's appointment, you're scheduling your own so that you're getting in just as much as your family is. Make it a routine, make it a regular. We all know it's the proactive stuff. Now, some of the stuff that really causes the diseases is stress. And all too, I think with women, it's all the extra stresses we put on ourselves. Sometimes stress isn't bad. Stress motivates us. Stress helps us get things done. But what we really have to think about is where in our lives are we working to decrease the stress and let the stress out? When we coach women, and when we work with them, a lot of times, Kimberly nailed it, is you're last, you're the bottom of the totem pole. You're getting the kids to school, you're making the dinners, you're making the lunches, you're doing all the things. And then end of scheduled day is not you time. It's not, I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to work out, or I'm going to pre-prep my meals. We do it a lot of times, we do it sometimes, we don't stay consistent on it. So it's that self-value. If you value something, you're going to take better care of it. So for you, the question would be, where can I start to put more value in myself? What would that look like? How would that feel? Even if you're just taking 20, 30 minutes a day dedicated to adding more value, or adding some sort of form of taking care of yourself and decreasing that stress. Focus on it for this month. Don't be, I'm committed for life. Do it for March and then see how you feel. Do it for March. An extra 30 minutes a day, all about you.
Misty, I want to take that and baby step it. I want to chunk it down even more. Instead of focusing on March, focus on today. Focus on today. Take it day by day by day. Because what we realize is that our world is constantly evolving and change is here. Change is happening. And in order for us to deal with it, we have to create some proactive steps to help us get there. And I think as women, you said it, we are often on the bottom of the totem pole, but we are yet the ones that are running the household, running the churches, sometimes running the business, running the schools. All of these things women have prominent roles in. But when it comes to that self-care, we kind of skip it. We kind of skip it. So we're here to encourage you otherwise. But I want to also think about how that gender inequity relates and how it's very serious, and it has had some long-lasting consequences for women and other marginalized genders. So when we think about this violence, very prevalent when it comes to women, discrimination, social economic inequality, these things lead back to anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, PTSD, all these different things. Now, when you recognize that you're in that state, what happens is you don't show up completely yourself. When you're not confident in who you are and the skill sets you bring to the table, you don't show up 100%, which could directly relate to the income, but we know it's not. We know it's just the nature of the beast. The gender gap in pay, it still remains in the US in the past 15 years or so, it's still women are earning 84% of what men have earned. But what if you showed up a little bit more confidently? What if your husband was on the other end of the boardroom when some other woman showed up and we had these discussions, which is what we're going to talk about in our action steps. How do you take this information that exists in this event, this month, this year? How do you take it and actually take action with it? Because there are some things that everyone knows. We're here, we're just highlighting a few things, sharing some concepts with you, but we know that it's real. And so we want to stop, we want to break the bias and really start working on changing the world today, but also for tomorrow. My granddaughters that may exist, I want them to have equal opportunities. So Misty, let's go ahead and get into some action here.
Yes.
What can we give the crew to really get them thinking? So we wrote down 3 things and they're all hashtags. And I want you to think about if you're out posting on social media today, we want to encourage you to use these hashtags. Use the hashtag Made to Inspire while you're doing it. But the first one we're going to talk about is number 1, stop the silence. Hashtag stop the silence. And what we mean by that is, here's the truth. We know what we know, what we know. And the truth is, we don't always decide to stand up and speak about it. I think in the world that we live in today, especially over the last few years, more people have become vocal about what they feel. They're standing up. They're no longer repressing those feelings. And they said, I'm speaking up. This situation here with women and inequality, this is something to speak about. Start sharing your thoughts. especially if you're in a position of change. If you can be one of those change makers, maybe you're at the seat and you're a decision maker. Speak up. Don't remain silent. Let's make a change.
Number
Misty?
two, to make sure you're done. Number two is choose to challenge. Hashtag choose to challenge. Choose to challenge is stepping outside of your comfort zone and maybe having more discussions around it. Sitting down with other individuals in your company, in your churches, even in your family, having more discussions about it. I know in working with some of the women I work with, sometimes choose to challenge is sitting down with their husband and talking about the gender roles, especially if they're building their business too, and really looking at it, sharing the school pickups and the dinners and different stuff. And sometimes the other person doesn't even know that is a problem or that's going on, especially if you're been in gender roles. And I know some women who love being at home and taking care of their families, and some men who love to provide. And opposite, I know some women who provide and some men who are the greatest stay-at-home dads I've ever met. So when we say challenge, we're not trying to challenge you out of your values or your belief systems, in a sense that if that's you're comfortable and you guys are happy, but was it a conversation and you both are moving forward in it? Or the challenge sometimes might be is, wow, we've had it for a few years and maybe I want some more time outside the house, or maybe I want to invest a little more in myself and my business. But having those conversations, and you're going to get uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable is okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. You can't grow unless you're outside your comfort zone. Having conversations at work. And I love, Kimberly, how you said, if you're a man, it's okay too. If you see something, speak up about it and have those conversations. If you're in a position of power, these are important times to have these conversations in your work. Really even looking at, hey, is our work equitable? Is our work have inclusion? Does our work have fair pay? So taking a look at that, if you're the owner or if you have say and power up there, that's a great step to start. Challenge even your own company and really see that. I love this is one of the famous TV channel. They were ranked lowest in equity. They were ranked lowest in diversity. And instead of just showing that off and saying, well, that's not our target population, they changed everything about their lineups. They changed their shows. They changed the actors in their shows. They changed the topics of their shows. And within the first year of the adding equitability and inclusion of shows, they became the #1 network. So these conversations just aren't about making change for change, but there's profit in these changes. Understanding your different customers, different understanding and adding to your businesses. I know, even think about Lowe's. Lowe's is set up for women. Home Depot is not. So when you walk into Lowe's, there's a different atmosphere, there's a different target population. So is your business, is it set up to be inclusive? Is your business set up for equality, even for your customers from their point of view? So there's some small steps that you can start to take, but just with the challenge is challenge yourself to be more self-aware. Kimberly, what's number 3?
I love it.
Or that's one to add to 2.
Yeah, well, I really do, but I won't. You know me, I always got something to say. But let's get right into number 3, which is hashtag break the bias. In fact, that is the 2022 theme for the International Women's Day. And it's all about, imagining a world where there's gender equality for everyone. That's really what it goes to. Diversity, equitable, inclusion, all of that. Something that we can value, something that we can celebrate. And when you think about that, each and every one of us have an opportunity to be a part of that movement. We can break the biases in our communities, as Misty said, in our workplaces. But I also want to go to somewhere else, the schools, the colleges, the universities. Whether they're in 5th grade or 10th grade, we want to make an impact. And here's what I believe, whether deliberate or unconscious, biases make it difficult for women to show up. Make it difficult for them to show up. It also makes it difficult for women to move ahead in their careers or their field of study or what have you. We do see some change, and I want to celebrate the change that has happened. We've seen change, and it's consistently happened year after year after year, which brings me great joy. But I want to say this, knowing that the bias exists isn't enough. which is why we're giving you these action steps. Action is needed to level that playing field. And we challenge you all by asking the question, are you in? Will you actively, number one, stop the silence? Number two, choose the talent challenge. And number three, break the bias. Call out that gender bias, the discrimination, and the stereotyping when you see it. There's nothing like real-time corrective action. Now, I'm not trying to get you into a brawl or bar fight or anything like that, but gently, with love, really approaching that. And so one of the things they're doing this year as a symbol for breaking the bias, will you join us in crossing your hands and breaking the bias? This is our, right here, this is the breaking the bias. If you're looking at us live on YouTube, there's a symbol right there. Break the bias. Join us on social media. Post a picture. Missy, do that right now. We're going to need a picture of that so we can post on our social media. Breaking the bias. That's what it boils down to. Now, what I love about this is that with this 2022 theme of break the bias, there are so many great resources out here for you, not just in this vein in International Women's, but in Women's History Month. We went online to the website, which is womenshistorymonth.gov. And there are countless resources for you to do some research and study and learn about the works of some amazing women. You know, I think about, I went to Clara Barton School. I don't know if you know who she is. She was a nurse. You know, I think about all the women I think about Marie Curie. No, I said that wrong. Marie Curie is a nurse. And we think about all these famous women who've done great things. We just came out of Black History Month. We know Rosa Parks. You know, a lot of people know Maya Angelou. So many different women who've been really moving forward, making trends, changing the world, making an impact. And with your support, we can do even more. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I can just go name, but you know, we're going to stop there and just really encourage you to take a look at that website, womenshistorymonth.gov. There's also the website where they provide a resource called The American Woman, a guide to women's history, resources at the Library of Congress. So I hope that tomorrow we no longer say, we don't know what Women's History Month is. There's some knowledge around it, and there's people committed to bringing that gender equality for women.
And we're not asking people, you're not coming down, we're moving up.
That's right.
So women and women reaching down and pulling up, you could have that. You don't have to, we're not taking anyone down by a notch, we're just rising.
That's right. And that's something we have to change in our culture. Just because I'm promoting something doesn't mean I'm suppressing or pushing something else down. We are promoting women equality, women support. And so we're super excited to say that the rest of this month, we have some dynamic women coming to our virtual stage. And let me tell you, they're going to bring concepts to the stage to really help women level up. You know, we're here, we're helping entrepreneurs, emerging leaders, business owners really take their business to the next level. And we'll be bringing in 3 and possibly a 4th dynamic female speaker who's going to talk about how to level up your business, from sales to mindset to pricing to strategy, everything you can possibly imagine to help you go up, women. So we're super excited about that. Yes, Missy. What do you think?
We forgot purple. Why are we all in purple?
Yes, purple. Why? Tell them.
We are in purple because 2022, right? 2022, the theme color is purple. And clearly, if you see our things behind us, it's the International Women's Day background, and they're purple. Yes. And we're wearing purple. And yes. Purple has some really deep meaning.
Yes.
Purple means wisdom.
Yes.
Bravery. Yes. Spirituality. And Kimberly found one that said royalty.
Absolutely. You go back to the biblical times, you know, Lydia sold purple garments because that's what it meant. It meant royalty. So many things. You think about power signifies purple, also ambition, wealth. So many different things related to this color. Yes. So we thought, what better way to do it than to rock some purple? Do you think we can make it off for the rest of the month?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We
All
should
right.
intro with Purple Rain. That's my next
Er,
a music intro. Just Prince, because he's like symbol purple.
I know, right? That's so fun. I love it. But we're super excited because this month is going to be a month of growth, a month of change, a month of advocacy. We're advocating for our female leaders, our female entrepreneurs, our female executives out here who are on a mission to change the world, better yet, to change their world.
Ooh.
Women, we want you to know that we're here for you, and we're here for you too, men. But this month is dedicated to all of our females. With that, as we say every single week, there is something out there waiting for you.
Now let's go get it.